You're listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. The interview subject you've tuned in to hear from is Robby Baca from the outfit, The Contortionist. The reason for the conversation is to promote the band's 2017 release, Clairvoyant. Let's have a listen to what Robby has to say. Here we go. Congratulations on the Clairvoyant to begin with. Look, I get a lot of promos, and I've started playing the promo version of the album at about 1 a.m. after a fairly heavy day at work. I was about halfway through the first track from the album, the track Monochrome, and I decided to stay awake and listen to the entire album. So, can you tell listeners all about the Clairvoyant?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. Thanks for checking out the record. Clairvoyant was sort of, I guess, at the point in time we were writing a record that was just kind of what happened, you know. When we sit down to write a record, we're not ever really quite sure what's going to happen with it. And we took some time to get away from home and our normal day-to-day monotonous stuff and whatnot. And we went out to Maine where Michael is, and wrote most of the record out there. And this is just kind of the fruit of those efforts. We tried a few new things musically and lyrically, I guess, and we're really hoping that people are into it.
Fair enough, mate. And where was the album actually recorded?
We recorded with James King in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is actually where we did Language. And Jamie has done like lots of our favorite records, from like Between the Buried and Me, bands like that. You know,
Sweet. Yep.
Just kind of always liked his. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just said that's great. Yeah, no, Between the Buried and Me, great band.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, they were a big influence on us early on, so it was really cool, you know, doing Language and then returning to Clairvoyant with Jamie, because he's just such a, when it comes to audio production and even musically, that dude is a drummer and a guitar player, just kind of a genius all around. So definitely a great dude to have while making a record.
Yeah, cool, mate. And look, I'm hearing, I could be off the mark here, but I'm hearing a little bit of Paul Masvidal from Cynic in your own guitar playing. Is that about right?
Yeah, definitely. Trace Denaire definitely had a big impact on me when that came out.
Yep. Likewise, actually, yeah.
I'm trying to remember what year that was. But...
the 2008.
Yeah, man, great guitar player. Oh, yeah. And so, in turn, in getting into Paul Masvidal and Cynic and stuff, got me turned on to Exvius, which was the other guitar player who was involved with Cynic at that point in time for Trace Denaire. That's his other band. And the record that they put out, Liminal, I think it was called, a couple years ago.
Yeah, it sounds
phenomenal record. And as far as technical guitar playing goes, like for me personally, that's definitely something to shoot for.
Yeah, cool. Look, I knew nothing about you guys till I got the promo, to be quite honest with you, but I need to ask this question then, because I'm loving the album, by the way, and I've gone back and listened to some of your back catalogue courtesy of the strength of Clairvoyant. What do you think it would take for you guys to achieve a broader audience, as the music certainly deserves to be appreciated by a bigger audience? And to be completely honest, I don't think enough people are going to get to hear the album.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we were asking ourselves when we were writing this record, and that's sort of what pushed us in the direction of trying to improve on our songwriting and whatnot. Because if you go back and listen to older stuff, I feel like we were a bit kind of all over the place musically, which was great. Like that's what we love to do, and we love to go off on musical tangents and get weird. But we definitely had in mind like being slightly more accessible this go around. What would it take for us to reach a larger audience? I guess just the next step in honing in on songwriting, and there are radio rock formulas out there that we could follow even harder than because that's a formula that we looked into when we were writing this record.
Okay. Yep.
A couple of the songs definitely got that sort of treatment, but I feel like maybe we could go down that path even further. It's hard to say because a lot of what makes music accessible is the lyrics, and sometimes,
Yep.
at least in my opinion, the super accessible music lyrically is, to me, kind of, I would say, distasteful or something.
Yeah, of course. It lacks
So
spirit,
I don't
lacks
know.
soul.
It's a fine. Right. So it's a fine line to walk, but we're definitely trying to do it with some kind of grace, I guess.
So I had an idea for you guys, and it might not be the first time you've heard this, but I reckon you guys would be a perfect tour partner and potential opener for Radiohead.
Absolutely, man. Radiohead has been a big influence on pretty much everyone in the band. Me personally, Kid A, OK Computer, Hail to the Thief, Pablo Honey, those were big ones for me. Especially like OK Computer and Hail to the Thief. Like those two records are definitely something that I'll go back to and listen, somewhat frequently. And I'm always blown away at the songwriting and the rhythms and the melodies, chord progressions. Everything about that band is just super interesting to me.
Yeah, sweet. And the other thing you remind me of is a lot of Australian bands, funnily enough. So I don't know whether you've heard of Sleep Makes Waves, Dead Letter Circus, and a band from Melbourne called Vipassy.
Actually, yes. Sleep Makes Waves are good buddies of ours. We brought them over to the United States to do a tour.
Excellent, cool.
Last year or 2 years ago. And they actually brought us over to Australia last year. Or maybe that was this year. Great guys. Dead Letter Circus, totally an influence on us. They had that record called The Warning or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with their music.
Great record.
I only just got into them recently, actually, and thought, okay, here we go. Here's some good stuff. It was around the same time I got the promo for you guys as I got their promo as well for their new album. So a lot of synchronicity there.
Yeah, absolutely. That band definitely rubbed off on me personally.
Cool, mate. And the other band that I've been listening to and getting into, and I found that there was, it was parallel, but there was still a lot of synchronicity. There was a band called XI, which is a new project from Colin Stetson, who was a frequent collaborator with Arcade Fire, Bon Iver, and Animal Collective. Do you know a lot about XI and Colin?
I don't think I do. I'm sort of familiar with Animal Collective. Could you actually say those two groups again? I think I may have missed that.
Oh, so the first band that Colin collaborates with frequently is Arcade Fire from Canada, and Bon Iver, or Bon Iver. We call it Bon Iver, but I think the band likes to be referred to as Bon Iver.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Okay. We may be mispronouncing this over here, but
you're right.
we say Bon Iver. Who knows? Yeah. That last record Bon Iver did, 22 a Million. and the one before it, maybe it was 2 records ago. I can't remember the name exactly, but those 2 records were big hitters for me. I love all the acoustic guitar work and vocal melodies, and I do. I really love that stuff.
Yeah, sweet. Mate, tell me, just a different tangent, different kind of a question. Tell me all about you as the guitarist, okay? Because as I've mentioned, I'm fascinated with Cynic's music, and I think that's what actually drew me into you guys in the first 30 seconds of the first song there on Clairvoyant, was that I really heard that. But your own playing, mate, who inspired you? Who got you started? Was it the typical case that Metallica or Megadeth were the gateway band and you got into progressive metal eventually?
Metallica definitely was a gateway band for sure. My parents are big into rock and progressive rock and metal, and my mom, when I was younger, got me into a live Metallica record called S&M, and that was like probably one of the first metal records I'd ever heard. Which is probably right? Why I'm so yeah. And I think that's why I'm so into like having keyboards and orchestration hand in hand with like rock and metal music. And then, years later, my dad got me into bands like Genesis and Rush and Deep Purple, Yes, so on and so forth. And from there, it was just, into bands like Dream Theater and Between the Buried and Me and, all those kinds of bands. So, you asked a question about me as a guitar player, like within the band.
Either way you wanted to interpret.
If I may have missed your question.
No, you've answered the question really well, mate. I appreciate it. And you brought up something very interesting there, because I've been a frequent critic of not just Metallica post. I'm not one of these guys that hags on them because they went non-thrash from Black onwards, but I've always felt that there's something lacking in the quality of a lot of their music that they've released post Black. And one of the criticisms that I made, aimed fair and squarely, is on the album S&M, the one that you just mentioned there, that was a significant inspiration for you. So I love talking to musicians, and I love talking to people who have different perspectives and different points of view. So that is an album that, frankly, I find virtually unlistenable, at least compared to a lot of the other symphonic rock and metal albums out there by bands such as Deep Purple and the German band called Rage, who did I can't remember the name of the album now, but it's in Latin or Italian, an album that Rage did in 1996 with an orchestra. But I just cannot get my head around what on earth is going on S&M. It sounds like, and I'm a big fan of Michael Carmen, who was the guy who did a lot of the arrangements. It just sounds like as though it was cobbled together very quickly, as opposed to really thought out, and some of the arrangements were, if you like, I don't know how else I can say it, rethought out as well. But you've given me some pretty good feedback that it was a significant inspiration for you.
Yeah, man, I would have to agree with you on Metallica. I past the Black album is not much of an inspiration on me. But for a young kid who has never really heard a whole lot of like guitar music in general, I think that's what it was for me, was just like hearing this, loud drum set with distorted guitars and orchestration. And I think at that point in my life, I was probably like, I don't know, maybe 6 years old or something like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I knew that I was interested in music, and especially like orchestrated music, and I don't know, it was just a perfect storm at that point in time, but definitely not something that I revisit frequently.
You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. That interview subject was Robby Baca from the outfit The Contortionist. Thanks so much for listening.